The trade moon of 7 smelled like burnt metal and fear. Criminals from 100 different worlds walked through its dirty streets, buying and selling things that were illegal everywhere else. Weapons, drugs, people. Nobody asked questions here. Nobody cared about laws. Sat in a dark corner of a drinking house, watching the crowd outside through a cracked window. He had lived on the edges of the galaxy for 15 years. He had hunted criminals, collected bounties, and learned to trust nobody. His face was hard and his eyes were cold. He had forgotten what it felt like to care about anything except survival. Then he saw her. A woman walked through the crowded market like she owned it. She was human, which was strange enough. Humans were rare this far from Earth. Most aliens thought of humans as weak, short-lived creatures who died too easily. But this woman did not look weak. She walked with her back straight and her head high. She wore simple black clothes with no armor. She carried no weapons that could see. She was walking straight toward the auction house of the Scaled. Felt his stomach turn cold. Was a reptilian crime lord who hated humans. He had a standing order to capture or kill any human who entered his territory. The woman was walking into a death trap, and she did not seem to care. He watched as guards noticed her. There were 6 of them, each one bigger than any human. They had green scales and yellow eyes and teeth like knives. They moved to surround her, blocking her path to the auction house. The woman stopped walking. She looked at the guards like they were insects. She did not run, she did not beg, she just waited. Did not know why he did what he did next. He had no reason to help a stranger. He had no loyalty to other humans. He had left Earth 30 years ago and never looked back. But something about this woman made him act before he could think. He pulled out his plasma pistol and fired. The shot was meant to hit the ground near her feet. It was a warning shot, meant to make her drop to the ground. If she surrendered, maybe the guards would capture her instead of killing her. Maybe could find a way to free her later. It was a stupid plan, but it was better than watching her die. The plasma bolt flew through the air, burning bright blue against the dark sky of 7. The woman moved. Her hand came up faster than his eyes could follow. One moment the plasma bolt was flying toward her. The next moment it was sitting in her palm, crackling and spitting energy between her fingers. She held it like it was nothing, like it was a toy. She turned her head and looked directly at. Across the crowded market, through the dirty window of the drinking house, her eyes found his. She smiled. Then she blew him a kiss. She closed her hand around the plasma bolt and absorbed it into her skin. Blue light traveled up her arm and disappeared. The guards around her had not even finished reaching for their weapons. The woman turned back to face them. She said something that could not hear. Then she walked forward and the guards attacked. What happened next would stay in nightmares for years. The woman did not fight like a human. She moved like water flowing around every attack. A guard swung a blade at her head. She caught his arm and broke it with a simple twist. Another guard fired a plasma rifle at her chest. She let the bolt hit her, absorbed the energy, and used it to punch through his armor with her bare fist. In less than 30 seconds, all 6 guards were on the ground. Some were dead, some were screaming. The woman had not received a single scratch. She stepped over the bodies and walked into the auction house. The heavy doors closed behind her. Sat frozen in his seat. His hands were shaking. He had seen many terrible things in his 15 years as a bounty hunter. He had fought aliens twice his size. He had survived ambushes and betrayals and things that should have killed him. But he had never seen anything like this woman. Screams started coming from inside the auction house. Heard plasma fire and the sounds of metal breaking. He heard his voice, high and terrified, begging for mercy in 3 different languages. Then silence. Stood up, he did not know why. He should run. He should get off this moon and forget what he saw. But his feet carried him toward the auction house anyway. He pushed through the crowd of frightened criminals who were running the other way. He stepped over the bodies of the guards. He pushed open the heavy doors and walked inside. The auction house was destroyed. Tables were broken. Walls had holes in them. Bodies were everywhere, aliens of a dozen different species who had been buying and selling slaves just minutes ago. In the center of the room stood the woman. She was holding a small data chip in one hand. At her feet lay the scaled, his yellow eyes empty and dead. She looked up at and smiled again. It was a warm smile, friendly, like they were old friends meeting for drinks. "Thank you for the gift," she said. Her voice was soft and pleasant. "I was low on energy after my journey. Your plasma bolt recharged me nicely." Stared at her, his mouth was dry. His heart was beating too fast. "What are you?" he asked. The woman put the data chip in her pocket. She walked toward him, stepping over bodies like they were fallen leaves. "My name is," she said, "and I am what humans became while you were away." Followed out of the auction house and through the back streets of Seven, she moved quickly but calmly, like someone who had done this many times before. Behind them, alarms were starting to sound. Death would bring more guards, more trouble. Led him to a small ship hidden in an underground dock. It was a fast-looking vessel, built for speed and stealth. She opened the door and gestured for him to enter. "We should talk somewhere safe," she said. Hesitated. He did not trust this woman. He did not understand what she was, but he needed answers more than he needed safety. He climbed into the ship. The inside was simple and clean. Sat in the pilot's chair and started the engines. Within minutes, they were flying away from Seven, leaving the chaos behind. "Ask your questions," said. She did not look at him. Her eyes were focused on the stars ahead. Had 1,000 questions. He started with the most important one. "How did you catch that plasma bolt? How did you kill those guards with your bare hands? What happened to you?" Was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft and sad. "Do you remember why you left Earth?" He blinked. He had not told her his name, but he answered anyway. "I left because I was tired, tired of wars, tired of watching humans hurt each other. I thought the galaxy would be better." "It was not better, was it?" "No, it was worse." Nodded. 5 years after you left, something happened. An alien species called the Dominion of decided they wanted Earth. They wanted our planet, our resources, our water, but they did not want us, so they created a plague. Felt cold. He had heard rumors about a plague years ago, but he had been far from Earth and he had not wanted to know the truth. "The plague killed 4 billion people in 6 months, continued. "It was designed to kill only humans, nothing else. Children died in their beds. Parents watched their families disappear. Cities became graveyards." Her hands tightened on the controls, saw something dangerous flash in her eyes. The survivors had a choice: die slowly as the plague continued to spread, or change, become something new, something that could survive. "Project Ascension," whispered. He had heard that name before in dark corners of the galaxy, a rumor, a myth, a story that humans had become something more than human. Yes, the scientists who survived took everything they had learned from studying alien species. Regenerative tissue from the, which allows them to heal any wound. Energy absorption from the, which lets them eat radiation and plasma like food. Neural processing from the, which makes their minds faster than any computer. Turned to look at him. Her eyes were different now. There was a faint glow behind them like distant stars. They put all of it together. They changed human DNA. They rebuilt human bodies. The first generation of Ascended were soldiers built to fight thee and win. I am 3rd generation. I was born this way. Stared at her. He thought about the humans he had known as a child. His mother, who loved to garden. His father, who told terrible jokes. His little sister, who wanted to be a painter. "So humans are gone," he said, "replaced by weapons." Shook her head. "No, that is not true. There are still normal humans on Earth. Billions of them. They still write poetry. They still make art. They still fall in love and have children and dream about the future. The Ascended exist to protect them. We carry the burden of violence so they do not have to. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the data chip she had taken from. This chip contains the locations of 12 human colonies, was planning to sell this information to slavers. They would have attacked those colonies and taken our people as slaves. Understood now, you came here to stop him. Yes, and now I need to destroy every slaver operation that was going to use this information. 12 colonies, thousands of lives. I will burn anyone who tries to hurt them. Thought about his old life, hunting criminals for money, caring about nothing except his own survival. It felt small now, meaningless. Why did you save me? He asked. Why bring me here? Because you shot at me to save me, said. You did not know who I was. You thought I was going to die, but you tried to help anyway. That tells me something about who you are. She leaned forward. I am going to war against the slavers. I could use help from someone who knows this part of the galaxy, someone with contacts and experience, someone who remembers what it means to be human. Looked out at the stars. He thought about the life he had built, the loneliness, the emptiness. Then he thought about his sister. He had not spoken to her in 30 years. He did not even know if she was still alive. My sister, he said, can you help me find out what happened to her? Smiled, yes, I can try. Made his decision. It was probably stupid. It would probably get him killed. But for the first time in 15 years, he felt like his life might mean something. All right, he said, I will help you. Turned back to the controls and set a course for the first slaver base. Welcome to the war, she said. 6 months passed like fire and blood. And traveled across 3 star systems, hunting every slaver operation connected to his data chip. Used his contacts to find information. He knew which criminals to bribe, which officials to threaten, which dark corners of the galaxy held the secrets they needed. Used that information to bring death. He watched her walk through plasma fire like it was rain. The bolts hit her body and disappeared, absorbed into her skin. Her eyes glowed brighter with each hit, and she moved faster, hit harder. The slavers shot at her with everything they had. It only made her stronger. He watched her rip armored doors off their hinges with her bare hands. Metal screamed as she tore it apart. Guards ran from her, screaming in languages did not understand. It did not matter. She was faster than all of them. He watched her float in the vacuum of space for 11 minutes while she manually rewired a ship's airlock. She did not need to breathe. Not anymore. She worked calmly, her fingers moving with perfect precision, while stars burned cold around her. Had never seen anything so terrifying. And yet, he had never seen anything so beautiful. But was not just a weapon. Learned this slowly, over weeks and months of traveling together. He found her crying one night, sitting alone in the cargo hold of their ship. They had raided a slaver base that day. They had freed dozens of prisoners, but they had been too late for some. Children. Human children who had died in their cells, waiting for rescue that came too late. Held a small toy in her hands. A stuffed animal that one of the children had been holding when she died. Tears ran down her face, silver and strange. I should have been faster, she whispered. I should have found them sooner. Sat down beside her. He did not know what to say. He had seen death many times. He had learned to push it away, to not feel it. But watching cry broke something inside him. You saved the ones you could, he said finally. That has to be enough. It is never enough, she said. It will never be enough. He learned other things about her too. He learned that she spent hours after every rescue learning the names of the people they saved. She wrote them down in a small book, hundreds of names. She wanted to help every one of them find their families. He learned that she played the violin. One quiet night, she pulled out an old instrument from a storage case and began to play. The music was soft and sad and more beautiful than anything had heard in 30 years. Her fingers, strong enough to crush steel, moved across the strings with perfect gentleness. He sat and listened until the music ended. When she finished, he had tears in his eyes for the first time since he was a child. "How can you do that?" he asked. "How can you be so gentle and so deadly at the same time?" "Put the violin away carefully." "That is what it means to be ascended," she said. "We are not monsters. We are humans who chose to become weapons so that other humans could remain soft. We carry the violence so they can keep making music and art and love." She looked at him with those strange, glowing eyes. "I will never stop being human inside, no matter what my body has become." The war against the slavers continued. They burned bases across the galaxy. They freed thousands of prisoners. Word spread through the criminal underworld about the two humans who could not be stopped. Some slavers ran before and even arrived. Others fought and died. Then came the day that changed everything. They were attacking a fortress on a frozen moon. The slavers there had been warned. They had brought heavy weapons, military-grade plasma cannons that could destroy starships, and fought through the outer defenses, but the resistance was stronger than expected. Saw the shot coming. A sniper on a high tower, aiming its back while she fought 3 guards at once. Without thinking, he threw himself in front of her. The plasma bolt hit him in the chest. The pain was beyond anything he had ever felt. He fell to the frozen ground, blood pouring from the wound. His vision went dark at the edges. He could hear screaming his name, but it sounded far away. Then her face was above him. Her hands were pressing against his chest, trying to stop the bleeding. But there was too much blood, too much damage. He was dying. "Stay with me," she said. Her voice was desperate. "I can save you, but I need your permission. I can make you like me. You will survive, but you will never be the same. You will be ascended." Thought about his life, the loneliness, the emptiness, the 30 years of running from who he was. Then he thought about his sister. He had searched for information about her for 6 months. She was alive. She had survived the plague. She had become something important on Earth. He wanted to see her. He wanted to tell her he was sorry for leaving. "Do it," he whispered. "Make me like you." Nodded. She put her hands on his chest and closed her eyes. Light poured from her palms into his body. The pain was worse than dying. Every cell in his body burned and changed and became something new. Screamed until his voice broke. Then he screamed without sound. When he finally opened his eyes, the world looked different. He could see colors he had never seen before. He could hear his heartbeat from 3 meters away. He could feel the electromagnetic radiation from the frozen moon's core humming against his skin. Smiled down at him. There were tears in her eyes. "Welcome to the family," she said. Stood up slowly. His wound was gone. His body felt strong and strange and powerful. He was no longer just human. He was something more. And somewhere in the galaxy, his sister was waiting. The slaver networks were broken. Every base on its data chip had been destroyed. Thousands of humans had been freed and returned to their families, and had won, but did not celebrate. On the night after their final mission, she sat down in the ship's small living area and told him the truth. "The slavers were never my real mission," she said. "They were important, yes, but I was sent out here for another reason." Felt his new senses sharpen. His body was still learning what it could do. Every day brought new abilities, new ways of seeing the world. But right now, he focused only on its words. "The Dominion of never stopped watching humanity," continued. "After their plague failed to destroy us completely, they pulled back. They studied us. They watched us create the Ascended. And now, after 50 years of preparation, they are coming back." "An invasion," said. "Yes, a fleet of 10,000 warships, enough firepower to burn Earth to ash. They will arrive in 6 months." Felt cold despite his new body. He thought about the humans on Earth, the normal ones, the poets and artists and dreamers, the children playing in streets, not knowing that death was coming from the stars. "Can Earth fight them?" he asked. "Earth has 300 warships crewed by ascended warriors. We are stronger than the individual combat, but they outnumber us 30 to 1. We cannot win through force alone." Looked at him with those glowing eyes. There was something in her expression that had not seen before. Hope. "That is why I came to find you." Blinked me. "I am just a bounty hunter. I was not even on Earth when everything changed." "You were more than a bounty hunter before you left Earth. You were one of the few humans who ever learned to speak the language. You studied their culture, their religion, their way of thinking." Remembered those days. He had been young and curious, fascinated by alien species. He had spent years learning to understand how they thought. Their language was complex and beautiful, built on ideas of honor and death and sacred combat. "I studied them in books," he said. "I never met a real." "You will. 6 months ago, I captured a priest during a raid. His name is. He is a high-ranking member of their death cult religion." Stood up and walked to a locked door at the back of the ship. She entered a code, and the door slid open. Inside was a small cell. Sitting in the cell was a creature that made blood run cold. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. They had no eyes, only deep holes in their skulls that pulsed with a faint blue light. Their mouths were full of teeth like broken glass. Wore the robes of a priest, covered in symbols that recognized from his old studies. They turned his eyeless face toward. He spoke in his own language, a series of clicks and hisses that most species could not understand, but understood every word. "Another human comes to stare at me," said. "Do you also wish to mock the servant of the gods?" Answered in perfect, "I do not mock, I seek understanding." Went very still. His blue light pulsed faster. "You speak the sacred tongue. How is this possible?" "I learned it many years ago. I found your language beautiful." For a long moment said nothing. Then he laughed. It was a terrible sound like bones breaking. "Beautiful. A human calls our language beautiful. Perhaps your species is not entirely worthless after all." Closed the cell door and led back to the living area. "Is different from most," she explained. "He believes that his species has lost its way. The religion teaches that combat must be honorable. Warriors must face their enemies directly, with courage and respect. But the plague that killed billions of humans was not honorable. It was cowardice." He disagrees with the invasion. He disagrees with how the Dominion is fighting. He represents a small faction of who believe that humanity deserves a chance to prove itself in true combat. They cannot stop the invasion alone, but they can create an opportunity for negotiation if someone can speak to them in their own language. "Understood now. You want me to be a diplomat. I want you to be the voice that stops a war. Your new ascended abilities have enhanced your mind. You can think faster, remember more, understand patterns that would take normal humans years to see. Combined with your knowledge of culture, you might be able to do something that no weapon can accomplish." Thought about it. He had spent his life running from problems, running from Earth, running from his own people. Now was asking him to run toward the biggest problem in human history. "There is one more thing," said softly. "Your sister, I told you she survived. I told you she became important, but I did not tell you how important." She pulled up an image on the ship's display. It showed a human woman in a military uniform, standing on the bridge of a massive warship. She was older than remembered, with gray in her hair and lines on her face, but he would recognize those eyes anywhere. "Is the Admiral of Earth's Defense Fleet," said. "She has been preparing for this invasion for 20 years, and she has been searching for you the entire time." Stared at his sister's face. 30 years. He had been gone for 30 years, and she had never stopped looking for him. "Take me to Earth," he said. "Take me home." Smiled and set a course for the blue planet. that had been running from his entire adult life. It was time to stop running. The invasion fleet arrived on a Tuesday. 10,000 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and filled the space around Earth. They were massive and ugly, covered in spikes and weapons that glowed with terrible energy. Each ship carried thousands of warriors ready to die for their gods. Admiral stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship, watching the enemy fleet on her display. Her 300 ships formed a thin line between the planet she had sworn to protect. Every crew member was ascended. Every one of them knew they would probably die today. But none of them ran. Stood beside his sister. They had reunited 3 months ago after his return to Earth. She had cried when she saw him. He had cried too. 30 years of silence had melted away in a single embrace. Now there was no time for tears, only war. "Begin the broadcast," ordered. Stepped forward to the communication array. Had spent months teaching him everything she knew about the faction that wanted peace. Had spent hours explaining the weaknesses in religious thinking. Had studied and prepared and practiced until his new ascended brain could recite scripture from memory. He opened a channel to all frequencies and began to speak. His words flowed in perfect, using the formal patterns of their priesthood. He did not beg for mercy. He did not ask for peace. Instead, he challenged them. "Warriors of the Dominion," he said, "I speak to you as one who knows your sacred texts. I have read the words of your founders. I know what your gods demand." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Your gods demand honorable combat. They demand that warriors face their enemies with courage. But 50 years ago, your leaders sent a plague to kill humans in their sleep. Children died without ever seeing their enemy. Families were destroyed by invisible poison. Where was the honor in that?" The fleet did not respond, but could see on the displays that their ships were not firing. They were listening. "Your own scriptures say that a coward's victory is no victory at all. Your priests teach that the gods punish those who kill without courage. So I ask you, warriors of the Dominion, do you come here today to prove your honor or to repeat the cowardice of your fathers?" The response came from the flagship, an old voice filled with anger. "You dare speak of our gods, human. You dare judge us." "I do not judge. I challenge. Prove that you are true warriors. Prove that your gods have not abandoned you, or admit that the Dominion has become everything your founders despised." The fleet exploded into chaos. Could hear arguments breaking out on their communication channels. Priests were shouting at warriors. Warriors were questioning their commanders. His words had struck at the heart of everything they believed about themselves. Then's voice came through the fleet-wide channel, from inside the flagship itself. She had infiltrated their command ship during the chaos. She stood in their great hall, surrounded by hundreds of warriors, each one twice her size. She was alone and unarmed and smiling. "I challenge your greatest champion to single combat," she announced. "If I win, the Dominion withdraws and agrees to negotiate. If I lose, humanity accepts destruction without further resistance. This is the way of your gods. This is the test they demand." They could not refuse. Their religion required them to answer such a challenge. To refuse would be to prove themselves cowards in front of their entire fleet. Their champion stepped forward. His name was the Blade of the Dominion. He had not lost a battle in 300 years. His body was covered in scars from 1,000 victories. He carried a sword made from the bones of his defeated enemies. He towered over like a mountain over a stone. "Little human," he said, "you will die screaming." Smiled, many have said that, they were all wrong. The fight began. Was fast for his size. His 4 arms moved in patterns designed to overwhelm any opponent. His bone sword cut through the air with deadly precision. But was faster. She danced around his attacks, her body bending in ways that should have been impossible. She absorbed energy from the lights around her, from the heat of the ship, from the electricity in the walls. Her eyes blazed with power. Hit her many times. His sword cut her flesh and broke her bones. Silver blood poured from her wounds, nanomachines fighting desperately to keep her alive. Any normal creature would have died 100 times. But kept fighting. 11 minutes of combat, 11 minutes of pain and blood and determination. Watched on the display, his new heart beating too fast. He wanted to help her. He wanted to save her. But this was her fight, her sacrifice. Finally saw her opening, raised his sword for a killing blow. She dropped under his arms and drove her fist through his chest. The champion of the Dominion fell dead at her feet. Stood over his body, barely able to remain standing. Her legs shook. Blood covered her entire body. She looked like death itself. But she was alive, and she had won. The fleet. Not because they feared human weapons, not because they thought they would lose, but because they had witnessed something their religion taught them to respect, a species willing to sacrifice everything for survival. In the weeks that followed, negotiations became the voice of humanity, speaking to thee in their own language, finding compromises that both sides could accept. It was hard and slow and painful, but it was better than war. 1 year later, stood on the surface of Earth for the first time since his childhood. The sun was warm on his face. The air smelled like flowers and rain. Above him, and human ships patrolled together in an uneasy peace. Stood beside him, fully healed but forever changed by her battle. Stood on his other side, her hand resting on his shoulder. A child ran past them, laughing, chasing a ball across the grass. An ordinary human child, unmodified, innocent, the kind of human that used to be. This was why the Ascended existed, not to replace humanity, not to become monsters, but to protect the dreamers, to carry the burden of violence so that children could still laugh and play. His voice came through his comlink, ready for the next mission. Watched the child disappear around a corner. He thought about everything he had lost, everything he had become, everything he had found. He smiled. Always, he said. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity, against all odds, had survived. Not by being the strongest, not by being the most violent, but by being willing to sacrifice everything for each other. That was what made them human. That was what made them dangerous. And that was why, across 1,000 star systems, species who had once dismissed humanity as weak and short-lived now spoke their name with respect. The humans had earned their place among the stars. And they were just getting started.